In the world of criminal investigations, some killers fit the image people expect. Others hide behind respectable careers, trusted reputations, and seemingly ordinary lives. Few cases demonstrate that terrifying reality more clearly than that of Colonel Russell Williams, one of Canada's highest-ranking military officers. Decorated, respected, and entrusted with transporting world leaders, Williams appeared to embody discipline and honor. Yet behind that carefully maintained public image was a man living an increasingly dangerous double life that would eventually shock an entire nation. For years, residents of small communities in eastern Ontario believed they were dealing with an unusual burglar. Women's underwear disappeared from homes without explanation. There were no obvious signs of violence, no clear suspect, and no reason to imagine that these strange thefts would eventually lead investigators to one of the most disturbing criminal cases in Canadian history. By the time police uncovered the truth in 2010, the crimes had escalated from burglary to sexual assault, and finally to murder. David Russell Williams was born on March 7, 1963, in England before moving to Canada as a child. Intelligent and ambitious, he built an impressive military career over several decades. He became an accomplished pilot, eventually flying aircraft carrying senior government officials, foreign dignitaries, and even members of the British royal family. His professionalism earned widespread respect throughout the Canadian Armed Forces. By 2009, Williams had reached one of the military's most prestigious positions. He was appointed commander of Canadian Forces Base Trenton, the country's largest and busiest Air Force base. Friends, colleagues, and neighbors described him as calm, organized, and highly competent. He was married, financially secure, and appeared to have everything someone could want. But beneath that carefully controlled exterior, another life had been developing in secret. Years before anyone suspected murder, Williams had begun breaking into homes throughout rural Ontario. Unlike most burglars, he was not interested in money, electronics, or jewelry. Instead, he targeted intimate clothing belonging to women and girls. After stealing the items, he photographed himself wearing them inside his own home. Investigators would later discover thousands of photographs documenting these secret activities. The images revealed meticulous planning and an obsession that had grown steadily more dangerous over time. Each successful burglary appeared to increase his confidence. He became increasingly skilled at entering homes without detection, often leaving victims completely unaware that anyone had been inside. For local police, the thefts seemed bizarre but isolated. Few imagined they were watching the early stages of an escalating pattern of criminal behavior. Everything changed during 2009. In September, a woman named Lori McDonald was attacked inside her own home. A masked intruder restrained and sexually assaulted her while taking photographs. She survived the terrifying ordeal, but investigators still had no idea who the attacker was. Just weeks later, another woman, Jessica Lloyd, disappeared from her home near Belleville, Ontario. Jessica was 27 years old. She was an employee at a nearby military base and lived alone. On January 28, 2010, she failed to report for work. Family members quickly became concerned, and police soon discovered signs of a violent abduction inside her house. Outside the home, investigators noticed tire tracks and boot impressions left in the snow. Those seemingly ordinary pieces of evidence would later become critical. Search teams worked desperately to find Jessica alive, but days passed without success. The investigation intensified as officers realized they were dealing with a dangerous offender who remained at large. As investigators examined Jessica Lloyd's disappearance, they began comparing evidence with other unsolved crimes in the region. Similar methods, similar locations, and similar forensic details suggested the same offender might be responsible. The breakthrough came through patient investigative work rather than dramatic luck. Police established roadblocks throughout the area, quietly recording tire patterns from passing vehicles. During one checkpoint, an officer noticed that the tread on a dark SUV appeared remarkably similar to the tire impressions collected outside Jessica Lloyd's home. The vehicle belonged to Colonel Russell Williams. At first glance, the connection seemed almost impossible. Williams was one of Canada's most respected military officers. He had no criminal record and occupied one of the country's most trusted leadership positions. Yet investigators continued examining the evidence. Search warrants soon uncovered overwhelming forensic proof, linking Williams to numerous break-ins, sexual assaults, and Jessica Lloyd's disappearance. Investigators also discovered enormous collections of stolen personal items, photographs, and digital evidence documenting years of criminal behavior. On February 7, 2010, Williams voluntarily agreed to speak with investigators. The interview has since become one of the most studied police interrogations in modern criminal investigations. Detective Jim Smith calmly presented evidence piece by piece. Rather than confronting Williams aggressively, he allowed the physical evidence to tell the story: the tire impressions, the boot prints, the forensic evidence, the photographs. At first, Williams attempted to remain composed, but as investigators revealed more details, it became increasingly clear that denial was impossible. Eventually, the decorated military commander confessed. He admitted responsibility not only for Jessica Lloyd's murder, but also for the earlier murder of Corporal Marie-France Comeau in November 2009. Comeau, a 26-year-old military flight attendant, had been sexually assaulted and murdered inside her home. Until Williams confessed, investigators had struggled to identify her killer. The respected colonel had been living a double life that almost no one had imagined. As investigators examined Williams' home and computer, the full scale of his crimes emerged. Authorities connected him to more than 80 residential break-ins committed over several years. They recovered extensive collections of stolen clothing and personal belongings. Thousands of photographs documented his activities in disturbing detail. The evidence showed a clear progression. What began as burglary evolved into increasingly violent crimes. Sexual assaults were followed by kidnapping, torture, and ultimately murder. The investigation revealed meticulous planning. Williams often conducted surveillance before selecting victims. He studied neighborhoods, monitored routines, and carefully avoided attracting suspicion. His military training may have contributed to the precision with which he organized many of his crimes, making him exceptionally difficult to identify until forensic evidence finally exposed him. Rather than forcing victims' families through lengthy courtroom testimony, Williams chose to plead guilty. In October 2010, he admitted responsibility for 2 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of sexual assault, forcible confinement, and dozens of burglary-related offenses. The court sentenced him to 2 concurrent life sentences with no possibility of parole for 25 years, along with additional sentences for his other crimes. During sentencing, emotional victim impact statements described lives permanently changed by his actions. The military officer, once entrusted with protecting others, would spend the rest of his life remembered, not for his distinguished career, but for the devastation he caused. The Russell Williams case forced difficult questions throughout Canada. How could someone entrusted with national security hide such violent behavior for years? How could colleagues, neighbors, friends, and even family members remain unaware? There were no simple answers. Psychologists and criminologists have continued studying the case because it demonstrates how dangerous offenders can maintain remarkably ordinary public identities while committing horrific crimes in secret. The investigation also highlighted the importance of patient forensic work. A careful examination of tire tracks combined with disciplined investigative methods and strategic interviewing ultimately solved crimes that might otherwise have remained unsolved. Today, the names remembered most deserve to be those of the victims, Marie-France Comeau and Jessica Lloyd, along with the survivors whose courage helped investigators understand the full extent of Williams' crimes. Their stories transformed what initially appeared to be a series of strange burglaries into one of the most significant criminal investigations in Canadian history. The case remains a chilling reminder that appearances can be deeply misleading. Sometimes the most dangerous person in a community is not the one who attracts suspicion, but the one who has spent years earning everyone's trust. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary informative, consider subscribing for more carefully researched true crime stories based on verified facts, court records, and official investigations. Until next time, stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember that the most unsettling mysteries are often the ones hidden in plain sight.